Hi, my name's Cliff Caines. I'm the director of Workhorse. Jesse, I had a chance to take a look at your film and would love to chat about it.
Hi, Cliff. Nice to see you. My name is Jesse McCracken, and I directed Grey Roads. And I caught your film the other day, Cliff, and really enjoyed it. It reminded me of mine a lot. And but I'm curious, like, what first drew you to the sort of subject of horses and workhorses in general? What brought you to this place?
Thanks, Jesse. That's a great question. As a filmmaker, that's sort of where does the genesis of the idea come from? And for me, it was an intersection of this world of teamsters and workhorses. I was attending just by happenstance. I was out in cottage country, 3 hours east of Toronto, I think, and was at a fall fair in that was celebrating the harvest, and we saw that there was a workhorse. A horse pull, and I was really curious of what this is, and I was really thinking about what the history of all of this was, and it really 5 years later I had made a film that followed three different teamsters in three different contexts. One in the horse pull as a live sporting event that's used to celebrate these histories, and then looking at, for me, a chronology of the history in Canada of the use of draft horses from logging to farming.
That's awesome. I really liked how long you held on shots and sort of the slowness of it all. And it's a pretty brave thing to do, making documentary, especially in this world today when we're so focused on, fast pace and fast cuts and things like that. It's like,
yeah, it's a product of a lot of testing and research. And by research I mean, and pardon the pun, but field research. Really, it's just lots and lots of shooting. With my director of photography, Ryan Randall, I've worked with him for over 20 years now. When coming to this project, an aspect that I was really curious was this idea of the performance and the control of the horses. So this relationship between the humans and the horse and their equine partners. Staying with those shots for the time that we did, for me, it was about also matching the time and the patience and the sort of pastoral and languid time frame that these horses and their teamsters exist in. And it's a very challenging thing to express the time scale in which they work, but also the scale of the horses as well. And a lot of that for us was in contrast to your film, for example, where it's a verite. What's interesting are both of our films are very much of the present moment. And my film, you could maybe look at it as taking a very distanced approach, an observational approach, and yours maybe a much more participatory, collaborative, and very personal approach with the between verite and portraiture. I was wondering if you could maybe speak in contrast to that, your choices and how you evolved in your process of becoming, I think out of necessity too, this closeness with your family members.
Yeah, I think it was an evolution throughout filming. I think at the beginning, I kind of did want to be more sort of observant and distanced from the story a bit, and the story was much more, just focused on what's happening around the town and within the town, even though I knew the people. But I always wanted to put parts of my family in it because I thought my dad and grandfather are great characters. But as I was filming and sort of thinking about the story more in my head and stuff, it just was so obvious that it was also very personal, and that there were things to talk about and explore with my dad and grandfather. It stemmed from just becoming a bit more brave about where to go personally. And I think it was the right choice in the end. I think if I was too distant, it wouldn't have had the same feel, and people from rural communities maybe wouldn't have appreciated it as much and may have felt a bit more exploitative or something. So yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I think in documentary that's a big question, right? Especially this idea of exploiting our subjects and whether we're working with people that we don't know from or outside of a community, or we have a connection to that community. How we approach that as filmmakers, it's part trial and error. For me, it's my voice is in the film rather than in voiceover. It's through these choices, these formal choices of where the camera is, how long it stays there. It's part performative on my part, and it's about leaning towards the fact that this is staged and there is a collaboration going on. Both the horses and the teamsters, we worked together to stage those frames. I initiate that, and then it's for me, it's a way to collaborate. So I find that really interesting in both of our films, those very different angles and approaches to that collaboration with subjects, or in this case, it was your family. But I was curious if maybe we could talk about a connection for both of our films. I thought was interesting was this idea of intergenerational portraiture, right? So in your case, you're working, I think, a very sharp and very, I think that's what struck the chord most with me is this intergenerational family. Did you want to maybe talk a bit about your approach to that intergenerational structure?
Yeah, I think, for me, it was sort of a process of weaving it in throughout the film, and sort of, I didn't try to be too formal about it. It was more just sort of weaving in these stories and trying to make it feel like they could be coming from any one of us, sort of at the same time, and a lot in voiceover and things like that. But I really liked in yours how you did keep it in these separate vignettes. You don't see that too often. It's a lot of the time in documentary, it ends up being sort of this interwoven story between many different subjects. But I like that you just sort of sat on these 3 acts. Talk about the decision to do that and not really, interweave like so many classic documentaries do.
Yeah, no, it was part of the discussion. When I first started the film, it was only about the horse pulling family that we followed, the Wessels, and then as we filmed with them over a course of a season, so that they do over 30 horse pull events in a season, which takes place anywhere from the spring to the fall, leading up to a major fall event. We ended up only showing one major horse pull in the film, and meanwhile we shot with them. But as I was working with them, it really dawned on me that I needed to tell the history of this practice, but in a very present moment.
Well, thanks a lot, Cliff. It was really great chatting with you. I loved your film and look forward to catching up at the Forest City Film Festival. You can catch my movie Grey Roads Saturday, October 23rd at 6:30 at the Wolf Performance Hall in London, and then it will be available digitally, I think, starting on October 25th for 5 days. If you want to find out more info about me or my work, you can just go to jessemccracken.com and find out more there. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the chat, Jesse. Really great. Thanks for the amazing film. I'm really glad that we could chat today. I'm looking forward to watching your film and joining the Forest City Film Festival. I believe Workhorse is screening on, I think it's Sunday, October 24th at 12:15 p.m. at the Wolf Performance Hall as well. If you'd like to find out more about Workhorse, you can go to workhorsefilm.com, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks, Cliff. It was great chatting, and we'll see you there.